to order. Would the clerk please read the meeting statement?
Yes. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the public and the press on January 14th and January 18th, 2022, and was posted at the Municipal building in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-7.
Thank you. Would you please all rise and join me in the pledge for our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Yes. Vice President Bucieri. Here. Councilmember Fury.
Here.
Councilmember Lynch.
Here.
Councilmember Shortway.
Here.
Council President Rizzuto.
Here. Before I ask for the mayor's comments, I'd like to make comment on a matter of council's work that we've been doing for quite a while. It started in the end of 2021, and it's culminating tonight with a presentation of the budget for this coming year. And I believe that the public will be happy with the results. It is the first budget in 6 years that will result in no tax increase. And this was good Vice President, Mr. Lynch, and my other two associates who have reviewed the budget, and with the help of our financial director, chief financial officer, and most importantly, the department heads and the members of our community staff were most helpful in bringing this savings along. The mayor presented us with a very good starting point, and I want to thank him for that. And the distance that we had to travel to reduce this to a no tax increase was greatly decreased by his ability to bring us with a document that allowed us to make this move. So now I would like to ask the mayor for his comments. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I wholeheartedly agree with what you just said. In fact, my beginning comments relate to that budget. At the March 21 council budget hearing, I presented the council with the proposed 22 municipal budget that contained a 1.7% municipal tax increase. I use the term only, a 1.7% municipal tax increase, because limiting this year's tax burden on our residents to just 1.7% was quite an accomplishment, given the three critical facts that, number one, the nation's 7.9% rate of inflation has already resulted in our town having to start this year off paying more for goods and services that were absolutely needed as part of our normal operation. And I mean all goods and services, ranging from printer paper and cleaning supplies to gas and diesel fuel for our police, DPW, fire, and ambulance vehicles. Fact two, this year, the municipality has been required by the state to absorb cost increases that are above the rate of inflation for the health insurance we provide our employees. These costs are up a whopping 14%. And fact three, this year the municipality has been required by the state to also absorb cost increases for the statutorily required Social Security and pensions payments for required municipal workers and police personnel. These costs are up 8%. However, at the budget hearing, Council Member Brian Lynch asked me if I would be willing to work with the council to see if we could together, and I think that's a key factor, together, reduce the 1.7 proposed municipal tax increase to an actual 0% municipal tax increase. I committed to him and the entire council that I would work with them to achieve this very positive goal. So while I'm very proud of the fact that Chief Financial Officer Donnell Bright, Business Administrator Chuck Bolker, our department heads and I put in the time, we put in the effort and the attention to detail required to present the council a proposed 2022 municipal budget that contained only a 1.7% municipal tax increase. I am even prouder of the fact that the council and mayor were able to work together to reach the goal of giving our residents and taxpayers a 0% municipal tax increase budget. That 0% municipal tax increase budget is on tonight's agenda in the form of resolution number 22-82 for introduction by the council. Consistent with what I did last year as a way of sharing more budget-related information with the public, I have again this year asked Chief Financial Officer Donnell Bright to provide a short PowerPoint presentation that will summarize this year's budget and provide the public more insight as to how we plan to use their tax dollars. Mr. Council President, that'll be done when you call for the resolution. Thank you. At the March 14 council meeting, I expressed a strong belief that a door for possible municipal governing corporation had been cracked open. I additionally said that I plan to not only do everything that I could to push that door open even more, but that I also plan to walk through that door. I believe that the budget development teamwork between the members of the council and the council as a collective group with the mayor reflects the fact that not only did I walk through that door, but that the council as a collective group also walked through that door with me. I want to publicly thank all of the council members, and especially you, Mr. Council President, for your challenging but positive and constructive budget input. I embrace the words of the great American author, disability rights advocate, political activist, and lecturer, Miss Helen Adams Keller. Miss Keller said, "Alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much." The work of the council and the mayor on the 2022 municipal budget is a great example of the wisdom of Mrs. Keller's quote. Mr. Council President and council members, I want to use the remaining portion of my comments to share with the council and the public two statewide recognitions and one national recognition that have been recently received by our town, and to share with you one kind and patriotic act by one of our town's many outstanding volunteers. This month, the New Jersey Healthcare Quality Institute announced the towns that they had recognized as winners of their Healthy Town Awards for 2021. The New Jersey Healthcare Quality Institute is the only independent, nonpartisan, multi-stakeholder advocate for healthcare quality in the state of New Jersey. Their objective is to improve healthcare quality and safety, to expand access to a good care, and to control costs for employees and consumers. One of the ways of accomplishing this objective is through their Mayor's Wellness Campaign that they operate in partnership with the New Jersey League of Municipalities. The Mayor's Wellness Campaign is a statewide community health initiative that provides evidence-based tools and strategies for mayors and community leaders to help their residents achieve healthier lifestyle and to improve overall health and wellness in their communities. A total of 422 New Jersey municipalities participate in the Mayor's Wellness Campaign. And based on the 2021 results, Vernon Township was one of only 7 of those municipalities that were awarded the Healthy Town to Watch category and award. We are also the only town in Sussex County to achieve this award. This was the 2nd consecutive year that Vernon Township has received this honor. Also this month, the statewide insurance fund rewarded Vernon Township's robust and expansive safety and loss programs by selecting our town to receive their safety program award for 2021. This award recognizes municipalities that maintain safety and risk management programs, that demonstrated ongoing effort to improve those practices, and that are receptive to the recommendations of loss control professionals. The achievement of this special award is significant because Vernon's safety and loss control programs not only contribute to our effort to keep our employees and our public safe, They also contribute to our efforts to reduce the amount of tax dollars that the town is required to pass on to homeowners for the cost of municipal employees' injury time away from the job and the cost of insurance. Programs of this nature are part of the municipal strategy to save dollars of our Vernon taxpayer by not only working harder, but by also working smarter. During March, Vernon Township received recognitions from not just the state and New Jersey level, but also from the national level. The March issue of the national travel magazine, Travel and Leisure, recognized Vernon Township as one of the, quote, 10 charming small towns to visit along the Appalachian Trail, unquote. The magazine published the following about Vernon Township. It says, located in northern New Jersey along the Appalachian Trail, Vernon more than delivers on the small town charm. After cracking out the mileage from walking the Appalachian Trail, you should relax at the Mountain Creek Resort and enjoy zip line tour, snow tubing, or an aerial adventure park in the trees right on the site. If you are visiting in the fall, take a turn apple or pumpkin picking at Heaven Hill Farms or Pochuck Valley Farms, or linger over live music and a glass of wine, cider or spirits at the Warwick Valley Winery and Distillery. The spring is another ideal time to visit Vernon and walk its Appalachian Boardwalk and Stairway to Heaven. Prepare for a jaw-dropping at the beautiful view of the Pinwheel Vista, both of which are connected to the Appalachian Trail in beautiful Vernon Township. Summer and winter are pretty packed in this pocket of the Garden State, so you may prefer off-season travel to enjoy its ample natural wonders. Now, this recognition from Travel and Leisure magazine is important because it's a top travel media brand that reaches more than 16 million travelers every single month. We live in a great town, and others keep making us aware of this fact at both the state and national level. You know, we should embrace that fact and work together as a community to make an already very good town even better. And finally, Mr. Council President, council members, and the public, I share with you one of the kind and patriotic acts by one of our town's many outstanding volunteers. Like so many other events and programs designed to enhance our quality of life, the Honor Flight Network was put on hold due to the COVID-19 epidemic. However, this program was started up again, and a Vernon resident, Miss Linda Smidgen, is playing a key and caring role in this program. The Honor Flight Network was formed in 2005 with the mission of honoring our nation's veterans by bringing them to Washington, D.C. to visit the memorials and monuments dedicated to their service and to their sacrifice. While originally focused on honoring our nation's World War II veterans, the Honor Flight Network now also honors those who served in the Korean War, the Vietnam War, other military operations, and in very special cases of terminal illness or injury, veterans from other recent service periods. Since its formation in 2005, the Honor Flight Network has taken more than 240,000 veterans to Washington, D.C. Today, the Honor Flight Network is comprised of over 128 hubs throughout the country that are dedicated to carrying out the Honor Flight mission. The network as a whole serves over 22,000 veterans each year. Mrs. Smidgen serves with the Hudson Valley Hub. She will be escorting 95-year-old Sussex County World War II Navy veteran, Mr. Ed Midland, on an honor flight to our nation's capital later on this month. In addition to her service with the Hudson Valley Hub of the Honor Flight Network, Mrs. Smidgen is one of our municipal employees who has also proven to be a valuable volunteer source for our town. She played a key role in forming the Vernon Cares organization and has been honored by our Congressman Josh Godhammer as one of the 5th Congressional District hometown heroes. I want to say on behalf of myself and the council, thank you, Mrs. Smidgen. Our town and the surrounding community is a better place because you live here. Mr. Council President, council members, that is my report for tonight.
Thank you, Mayor.
Council President, can I interrupt for 1 second? I was just informed by Donnell that the introduction to the budget has to go, well, Ordinance 2207 has to be approved before we can introduce the budget. So if we can maybe do the ordinances first, the budget afterwards, that would be most helpful. Thank you.
Public comment? May I have a motion to open the floor for public?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second? Seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. All in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion, the ayes have it. Thank you. Anybody has a question for the council or comment, please come to the podium and state your name. Do we have anybody from the vote?
Yes, I have Jesse Palladini. Ms. Palladini?
Just a quick question. Why do you have a cap on the ordinance list when you are having a 0 increase? Can you just explain that to me, please?
So the appropriations cap is something that we do routinely. This increase is just the cap for appropriations, not for the amount to be raised by taxation. There's two caps in New Jersey, one is for appropriations and one is for the amount. Just for your record, we're under the cap for taxation by over 1.5.
Thank you.
Okay, so it won't affect the budget itself.
No.
Okay, thank you, Donnell.
Are there any other questions pertaining to the items on the budget? I'm sorry, on the agenda? I'm sorry, you can't hear? Are the speakers on?
You can move up closer, we can hear you, probably hear better up here.
It could have been, this one's not on.
Did you turn it on?
What was that?
Can you hear it now?
Did you try to turn it on underneath?
They're on.
Yeah, they're on.
Yeah.
They're on.
This one is not on, but
Do we have anyone else?
Yes, Tom McClackery.
Mr. McClacker. Mr. McClacker?
Yes, you might want to show it that from that. Because it's not, it's high.
McClacker.
And the children, you might find third grade should be, you know, she told me that. So anyhow, quick comment. I have not read the budget. So I have comments on that other than to say that New Jersey has the most progressive property tax system in the entire nation. On average, the nation goes up 1% in property taxes. In New Jersey, it's going up 2.2%. In Vernon and Sussex County, you're looking at 3% every year. And all of that is paid for, the majority of that is paid for by the residential tax rate. That collects $30 billion a year, which is spent, majority of which is spent on the honor system. That is, everybody's self-audits, self-regulating, self-performs. Not much for those out there. So when residential taxpayers paying the bill, he's paying for it. All that stuff at the bucket, that would be the county, the school, and the municipality. The schools probably are the favorite of the taxpayers in that they pay for good education and paying for it. The other two, maybe not so much. Having said that, I have a quick question, and that is this. Due to the revaluation this year, 1%, of the overall residential tax base has gone up, whereas 1% of the commercial industrial tax base has gone down. My question is, how much is that going to impact the average residential taxpayer? Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have, would you be able to answer that question, or would you require some time?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see if we can get it a bit of it. Yes,
I don't have any other hands up.
you want the answer? Seeing no other,
Oh, I'm sorry. I just got one. Nope, it's gone now. Okay.
To make a motion, we close public session.
yes,
Sassy, can I let her talk?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think she's having a little bit of trouble. Let's see. Mr. Sassy? You're muted. And she's still-
Mr. Stassi,
You're,
can you hear it?
you're muted, Peg. She put her hand back.
We'll have to, are there any other residents? No?
No.
Seeing no one, then may I have a motion to close?
I'll still make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second to closing?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Bucieri. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. All members have been given a copy of the bills list. It's an opportunity for you to just look at a few things and see if you have any questions. There's a, to the business administrator, there is a check for $3,037.02 to ARLL, Carl Ludwig, and then there's a subsequent check to KML Technology. They're not by any chance the same company, just trading as two different names for different products? Check. You're looking at check numbers 57385 and 57386.
On page 3 of
On
your,
page 3.
like a third of the way down. Yes, great.
No, they're definitely not the same
Okay,
company.
all right. And the check number 57403 to Shaw Flooring Services, the municipal football turf field replacement. It's a substantial one, 454,000 and change. Does that represent the total balance of the amount that had to be paid, or what?
My understanding is yes, it's a total balance of what,
Total balance?
yeah, because they had to come back to finish some work. Is that correct, Michelle? No, I'm sorry, that's not correct.
I'm sorry?
That's 98. So the 2% is about $9,400 that we're holding based on waiting for orders.
All right. The Corey approved this 454,000.
Yeah, the resolution was passed the last time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No. Sure.
Mike, did you have a question?
No. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said you had a question.
We're waiting for your question. I thought you said I have to roll just figure.
Sorry.
No problem.
I confused myself.
Yeah,
I do not have any questions.
so we'll move along.
Thank you.
All members have been given a copy of the minutes of our meeting of February 28th. May I have a motion to have these minutes?
I'll make a motion.
To put on the floor for approval. Motion made by Mr. Fury. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Shortwood. Thank you. Are there any comments or questions or changes or additions to the minutes by any member of the council? No, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Vice President Bucieri? Yes. Councilmember Fury?
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch?
Yes.
Councilmember Shortman?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. So the council have all been given a copy of resolution 22-77. It's a resolution Township Council, Township of Vernon, in support of adult use cannabis retail license for Castle of Greens. May I have a motion to place this item on the floor for consideration? I'll make a motion. Motion is made by Mr. Fury. I'll second that. Second by Mr. Lynch. Question or comment on this?
This vote is not allowing Castle of Greens to open up a store. This is just a resolution that in support of them going forward. There may be many more of these coming in. They're only going to issue, from what I understand, 3 licenses in the township.
Well,
So,
our ordinance allows for 3 licenses.
Oh.
The state,
okay, well, I apologize.
yeah, the state might not issue 1. We don't know.
Right.
But this is a requirement, not a requirement. This I think helps their license application,
Right.
showing that they have township support. So it doesn't guarantee it, but it does help their application.
Any other comments? No. Okay, may I have a roll call vote?
Yes. Vice President Bucieri? No. Councilmember Councilmember Fury?
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch?
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
No.
Motion carries.
You know, I find it difficult, not difficult, but it's intriguing. The benefits of a previous resolution for a previous applicant, I think were much more advantageous to the township than the one proposed in this particular, by this particular applicant. So I'm just confused as to the passage of it. But be that as it may. Resolution 2278, resolution concerning the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority. May I have a motion to have this motion put on the floor for consideration?
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second? May I have a second? There being no second, the motion fails.
I wanted to call from the floor a resolution and the title of the resolution.
No. That didn't come through a normal course of action.
Well, I did submit this for consideration
Right.
at the last meeting.
Yes, I
It wasn't
understand.
put on the agenda, and this was also not put on the agenda.
So I want to know to number 4, authorization of appointment.
This is not the way we normally do it, Mr. Fury, you know that. And I'm going to ask you if you'd like to have this again
So I'm
considered.
going to ask the attorney, can I make a motion from the floor to introduce this resolution?
You can make a motion from the floor. However, the council president runs the council meetings. So you can make a motion from the floor. Whether or not it gets heard is a different issue.
So you're saying I can't make a motion?
No, you can make the motion. The
I'm trying to
question
make
is,
a motion from the floor.
I understand.
This resolution. And the reason why I want to consider this resolution, because it's important for the people of Vernon to know that what exactly happened here should be seriously considered and should be investigated to see exactly why it happened.
And that was it. And that's,
Please let me finish.
that was,
Please let me finish.
that was the basis for the previous resolution.
It's not interrupting me. Can I finish what I'm saying? So to consider this resolution, because it's that important. The initial investigation has shown there was a loss of approximately $1.7 million, which is a considerable amount of money. This combined with other issues that have happened with the MUA have made it most likely have caused the MUA to raise rates which are unfair to those ratepayers over the last 10 years. And so this is something that thankfully Janelle Wright and people who worked in the MUA discovered, and they discussed it amongst themselves. This township owns this asset, and we own the asset. It's our fiduciary responsibility to take it seriously and at least consider this investigation and a possible audit, forensic audit of the MUA. Now, if I'm not allowed to introduce this resolution, I find it slightly disturbing that I can't do that, because I think we should be taking this very seriously because we own this asset. And not having the ability to put this on the agenda for the second meeting in a row is completely unfair.
Can I ask a question, Mike?
Sure.
You were the chairman of the MUA for last year?
Year and a half.
Oh,
2 years.
how did this only come up now?
There is no resolution on the floor.
Okay, so you know what? We should
If
be
you would
called
like
the
to, if you
You're
would
right.
like to revisit the original resolution, which is being brought up,
That's why
if we can
We'll
do
discuss
that,
it at that point.
we can discuss it at that point.
How do we do that, Josh?
So we're bringing 2278 did not have a second, so the motion failed.
Didn't have it.
Yeah, no one brought it forward, so it failed. Mr. Fury wants to bring a motion to the floor, from the floor. It's not the best way to do things. He's permitted to do it, but ultimately the council president runs the meeting. I'm not going to leave it at that.
Ultimately, however, we can revisit.
Should we
You can revisit
right
it,
now? And
yes.
should we would afford us the opportunity to have a discussion then?
Sure.
Okay, so
Someone would have to make a motion
I
to
make a
revisit
motion
the
to
motion.
revisit resolution 2278.
May I have a second?
I second that.
Seconded by Mr. Lynch. Roll call vote
Sure.
to
Vice President,
revisit.
sure. Vice President Bucieri? Yes. Councilmember Fury?
No.
Councilmember Lynch?
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway?
No.
Council President Rizzuto?
Yes.
Motion carries to revisit. So I would like to respond to Mike's comments, and I do agree this is definitely a serious issue that requires a detailed attention and investigation. I found that initial resolution proposal by Mike, I'm trying to think of the right word here. I would like to give the MUA some time to conduct an investigation. I believe they are. And before the council takes an aggressive position, although I completely agree this is an important issue that needs investigation and resolution, I think giving the MUA, I don't think the MUA has to say, we're not going to do an investigation. Is that correct, Mike?
No,
I was,
So okay, well, so,
I wasn't part of it.
okay, but I mean, like, we haven't gotten any communication as council members saying they were not going to investigate,
that they were not going to, perform a in-house audit. I think it would be fair to that group to allow them to do that and present their findings. And then if we need to go further after that, I think that would be a fair way to handle it. That's my position.
Before we go any further, we only have approved to revisit this. This
Yeah.
is still not on the floor for consideration. So may I have a motion to place this particular resolution on the floor for consideration? 2278. May I have a motion? If not, then we'll cease
I'll
discussion.
make a motion.
Okay, motion is made by Mr. Kieran. Is there a second?
Yes.
Seconded by Mr. Lynch. Motion is on the floor. Now you may comment.
My initial hesitancy to take a second was that I wanted to give the municipal authority the time to do the investigation. We could talk about that time frame, and if then that investigation is not done to our satisfaction, not done thoroughly, I completely agree with a resolution that has a little more teeth in it, Mike, like your suggestion. I just don't agree with going out the gate in that manner. That's my personal opinion.
Anybody else?
Can I speak now, sir?
And I'm not saying it's not important.
Thanks.
I don't think it's the council's job to be heavy-handed with any authority, any committee, or any other avenue where we have to make decisions on things. I think that we have qualified people on the MUA. I think we owe it to them to do their job. And until they do their job, until they don't do their job, it is not ours to overstep our boundaries and tell them what to do. That's all I have.
Well, to answer your question, Ryan, I was on the MUA for 2 years. We did a few positive things. We took the fund balance and moved from 50,000 to 650,000, and we discovered some issues with the issues with flow going down to Spuma, which ended up, when we worked directly with town council, to end up into the lawsuit that we have today, to relieve ourselves of a huge burden. We didn't discover this because I didn't discover it. Because our job as MUA members, the people on the MUA, is to help run the MUA to the best of our ability. And we think we've done that, of course. I agree with you. The MUA has great members, and they should be afforded the opportunity to provide that investigation. But I still honestly believe, no matter what the MUA does, we still have a responsibility as a township to also respond.
Sure. Something to say?
So I don't like the term aggressive, but I would like to have a secondary plan included in that resolution. Because although it's true, we own the asset, we also are responsible for the debt. We're talking full-time dollars. That's why I said that. Just like the more resolution that includes that will be part of it, the help them, secondary, whatever. Again, we're looking, we own the asset, we're responsible for building, but we also, that debt will fall on all taxpayers.
The thing that concerns me the most about this is that we've thrown around the word forensic. I think that if we just had take a look at it, forensic audits cost a lot of money. And
I worried because
I think that
investigation first and then forensic audit.
I think that we have qualified people in this town to figure out any problem that we have moving forward. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Spoken with Mr. Fury about the previous resolution. And after speaking with attorneys and speaking with auditors, I felt the best way that this could be handled without having this develop into some type of situation that began to grow and grow without any base in fact, was to let the authority do their work. when they were conceived as an authority, not a part of the government. Utility, thank you. Speak. So I think that by virtue of letting this authority proceed by their charter to work with the attorney and to work with the auditor in tracing down what happened. This happened over a period of time, and during that time, Mr. Shortway was mayor. He had members of the council sitting on the committee, the board. When the authority was conceived, it was conceived while I was a member of the council, as was Mr. Lynch. But the actual running of that particular body was left to the people who were involved and who were responsible. So to immediately move to have an investigation, which is already ongoing, and immediately move to have a forensic investigation, I question at this point if we are not getting way ahead of ourselves in terms of tracking down this information. Certainly one of my first stops, so to speak, will be with the auditor, because we have had the auditor for a period of time, and find out why, in fact, there was this discrepancy. And unless we're talking about different numbers, it's not multi-millions. It's in excess of $1 million, but we don't know exactly how much. I think the pen has to be put to the paper, and each one of these units, reevaluate. Certainly during the course of a tax revaluation, when every unit is supposed to be visited by an individual, that means knock on the door, let me in. And if the person who is doing the evaluation is not let in, he does have the authority to rate that particular unit or home or business or whatever at its highest level. So two people have to begin to, I question, what about the person doing the tax reval, as well as the auditor who was, auditing this information? And I think only those people who are working closely with the authority have the ability to answer those questions. Hence, I support the resolution as proposed, and it can be revisited at a later time. But it does call for a response from the authority to the council. That response, by the way, is normally done twice a year. And we had our first one in February. The next one would probably be in March, or in June or July. And it was called for when the authority was conceived. I don't recall hearing or having any knowledge of any previous report from the authority to a council subsequent to when myself or Mr. Lynch left the council in sometime in 2016, I guess. With that, if nobody has any other comments or questions, I'll ask for a roll. Do we have a roll?
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
No.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway,
No.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes. Resolution 2280, This is for a resolution of the Township of Vernon Consulting Accounting Assessment. Okay, that's the reason why, because it's, my copy just passed. Who has 2270?
I have it.
Right here, thank you. Resolution 2279, for governing body certification of compliance with United States Equal Opportunity Commission. This is an enforcement guidance on consideration of arrest and conviction records in employment decisions under Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. May I have a motion to place this on the floor for consideration?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Fury. Are there any questions or comments? If not, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury.
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch.
Yes.
Councilmember Shortland.
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Now we go to 22. Of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, authorizing the award its consulting support services to Integrated Microsystems Incorporated through the competitive contracting process. May I have a motion? Place this on the floor for consideration.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. Anyone have any comments on this or questions? There were only two bids on this. My question is, Integrated Microsystems, are these, is this the company that has done?
Yes.
Continually, I get comments from people, why can't they see who's talking? Why can't they see the mayor? Why can't they see you? You know, for the placement of the cameras. Is there any way that we can reset the screens and the camera to afford this?
What would be your desire? You know,
Seeing who's talking and seeing the council and seeing, you know, I would ask that, you know, at some point, we're gonna probably have to see if, you know, the other two council members will be sitting at the dais, so we can move that table.
well, the camera can be adjusted so that you can see the dais and you can see pretty much most of this table. That camera has the ability to adjust it. So I don't know whether anybody, typically we are, myself or Donnell are ancillary to this, and they can hear us because we have the microphone system both internally and externally to Zoom. But if you wanted to adjust it, you can adjust the camera. Or see, you know how to do that, right?
Maybe it might be advantageous for people who want to see who's
You're not
talking.
gonna see the person who's talking. You
Yeah.
cannot, you know, without us
Why?
moving.
It's as low as it will go.
You could,
No, you can't see the people that are there because of the angle that we need to capture this table and everything. If you put it all the way at the back of the room, it would be like you're sitting in the back of the room. If that's preferable to you, I will discuss with them about.
What
moving
about
cameras.
people who are calling in? So rather than just hearing the voice from above, you actually see the person.
they have issues to put on.
Well, they would still see the back of the person. Unless you reverse the table so that they could see them, because the camera's gonna shoot this way.
Could you put the cameras down like on the table?
It has to be out there for the wiring purposes.
Yeah. Move it back.
If we can move back,
You just get,
Then we'll look
you
at it.
get more
I
of a
mean,
look
we look
from
pretty
like
far away
someone
right
sitting in
now.
the back of the room.
If you look at this,
Oh, I don't care about that. It's just a question of the public being able to see what's going on. And the public is also up there, so I mean, that's a concern. All right. Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Now I have a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortman,
Yes.
Council President Mizzou.
Yes.
Motion carries.
This is resolution 2281, transfer resolution, balance transfers. This is basic accounting adjustment for the township. May I have a motion to place this on the floor for consideration?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Bucieri. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Fury. Any questions or comments on these transfers? Looks like Marcy's having a tough day. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortman,
Yes.
Council President Mizzou.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution 2283, resolution of the Township Council of Township of Vernon opposing a proposal by the New Jersey and Pennsylvania chapters of the Sierra Club to change the designation of the Delaware Water Gap National Recreational Area to the Delaware River National Park in Lenape Preserve until a formal plan is presented for public review and comment. May I have a motion to place this on the floor?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Fury. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
Seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. Are there any questions or comments on it? Okay, may I have a roll call?
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortman,
Yes.
Council President Mizzou.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Ordinance
2207.
2207, the ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. This is an exercise that the council does every year to establish a cap bank so that it can draw upon that bank at a later date up to a specific amount in order to address its budget. Correct?
That's correct.
Sorry?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. So, may I have a motion to place this on the floor?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Fury. Any questions or comments on this? Not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. To 21, 2281. So 2282 is the introduction of the township budget. This is the introduction of our 2022 budget. I have a motion to bring this forward, place it on the floor for consideration.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Bucieri. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Short. Mrs. Bright, our CFO, has prepared a presentation for the council as well as for the public. Please proceed.
Takes a little while to warm up, so.
Now let's come in. We turn off the lights so they can see.
One of you gentlemen hit several of the lights back over this area here.
That's good, right?
Yep, thank you. Can it all light be gone? No.
All light.
Should we look at Donnell?
Okay.
I can see her presentation on Zoom. It's just not on the wall.
You see your presentation on the screen, Donnell.
The people that do it can see.
Shared screen.
That's 7 or something.
11. So I guess we're, Zoom, you're not capturing it here. Are you in anything, guys? I don't.
No?
No.
Oh. Well, you tried at least.
So, all right, I see no reason, but the numbers are still going to be the same. It's just a question of whether or not they can see the pictures.
Yeah.
Prefer to see. Certainly.
That's what you do.
Is there a microphone or something you have to get near you, Donnell? Yeah. Can you about the one up at the desk? Can you?
On top of the
So, yeah.
podium
Yeah,
there.
right.
Those are on.
Hopefully they can hear.
Zoom.
Hopefully you can hear me online.
You have to move it a little bit, so.
Okay. Vernon Township's 2022 municipal budget accounts for an operations budget that addresses services and obligations for a four-season municipality of over 68 square miles. Our township is claimed as home by over 20,000 people and visited by tens of thousands each year for the beauty of the Appalachian Trail and the active recreational activities offered year-round by Mountain Creek and other local businesses in town. The summary of the 2022 current fund budget. This year, we see an increase in capital and debt expenses of over $500,000 compared to last year, which reflects increases for an emphasis on cash capital and reducing our debt obligations over time for certain shorter-lived purchases and improvements. Increases in revenues anticipated of $1.7 million includes an additional $375,000 used of fund balance anticipated from canceled reserves, as well as an uptick in revenues received in 2021 that when we started to leave COVID behind.
Okay, now the screen up there has
It's not changing up on the
Just go on from the beginning. From the beginning of the PowerPoint. From the beginning.
Look at that. Woo! It worked.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Can you move your mouse?
Wait 1 second and I will share correctly.
I would actually rather that the people who took the time to come out here to see it. and
Now
do it
everybody-
at one,
Okay, yeah.
because the people in the room deserve to see it.
Nope.
You got it now.
There you
Hey, there you go.
Yay. So there was an increase in revenues, like I stated before, that we anticipated an increase of $1.7 million. And that includes a $375,000 increase in fund balance anticipated, Of that $375,000, just over half are from canceled reserves for the reval and for tax maps that we didn't use. We're also anticipating use of funds that we've brought in from properties sold at auction, which aids us in the future by putting those properties back on the tax rolls. Through the use of revolving fund balance and increase in other revenues, the amount to be raised by taxation remains stable. So this year for the 2022 municipal budget, operations account for 56% of our budget. Debt, capital, and deferred charges account for the next highest at 17%, followed by the RUT, which is a reserve for uncollected taxes at 9.5%. Our statutory obligations of Social Security and pension payments account for 8%. Our sewer bill accounts for 6.5% of the budgeted cost, and this is finished up by grants and shared services, which both have offsetting revenues at around 3%. The local tax rate moved from 0.771 to 0.676 with the reassessment. This year's budget equates to a $0 increase on the average home, which sits at $237,000, up from last year's average home of $206,000. The average municipal portion of the homeowner's tax bill equates to $1,605, which is less than the average family of four cell home bill. Comparisons of 2022 to 2021. So last year we used $625,000 from our fund balance, but was able to generate additional revenues and reduce spending to contribute to fund balance again last year. Having fund balance is important for situations that arise like we did when COVID hit in 2020. We saw an increase in revenue streams in 2021 that were not anticipated, mostly from COVID ending and businesses being back on track. We permanently financed old debt in 2021 at record low interest rates, and we have paid back a staggering $4.3 million on short-term notes since 2019 versus $1.2 million in the 3 years prior to 2019. We've also increased the amount we're paying for in cash for our capital projects, moving from $275,000 in 2018 budget to $1.5 million in cash capital items this year. This reduces overall debt in the future while still addressing current and future capital needs. The 2022 budget highlights. So cash capital items increased by $900,000 from last year's budget. There was also a decrease in debt service of $400,000, which was used to invest back into our capital plan. We have 4 new shared services for animal control, and we are staying in line with our capital plans for 2022 and moving forward on items that need to be addressed. We're also still focused on better long-term planning by putting money aside for future capital needs. In order to run the everyday operations of the municipality and maintain the required offices, there are various departments within the township. These offices process building and zoning permits, food handler licenses, marriage licenses, birth and death certificates, OPRA requests, court transactions, and animal licensing. They also collect taxes, assess values to the properties in town, process tax appeals, process farmland assessments, run the land use board, process invoices, make deposits, and handle payroll. Public safety encompasses our 24/7 service from the police department, fire, and EMS services, as well as dispatching and the Office of Emergency Management. It includes contributions to 4 volunteer fire departments and 2 volunteer ambulance services, as well as costs for equipment repairs, hose and fit testing, as well as other state mandated safety testing. Our fire prevention office, which conducts fire inspections, investigates fires, and teaches our school children about fire safety, is also included in this number. Listed here are just a few of the incredible community outreach programs provided by our police department as a way to engage more with the public. The DPW is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of our roadways, responding to plowing over 100 plus miles of roadway during each storm. They handle drainage projects and maintenance, brush control, the recycling center, and maintenance of all grounds. Parks and Recreation is responsible for all recreation programs in the township in conjunction with the PAL. They handle the farmers market as well as the community garden and maintenance of all parks in the township. Insurance here includes unemployment, health insurance costs after employee contributions, workers' comp, liability, life insurance, etc. There are items, however, that are entirely out of control of our own municipal budget, but they still have an effect on our budget directly and indirectly. Directly, we're affected by FICA, which is Social Security and Medicare, and pension payments. The state increased this year by 11%. Debt service is derived from our existing schedules and the urge to pay down some of our bad debt. This is the final year on our revaluation note, our special emergency for the reval that happened 3 years ago. Lastly, the county and school tax levies are handled and billed in your local tax bill. However, they still affect our bottom line as the township is required to send the full billed amounts regardless of our collections. That's why we have something called a reserve for uncollected taxes. It's an amount that we calculate based on last year's collections. And last year, last year's collections were up, which substantially decreased the rut for this year. In total, the average Vernon taxpayer is paying $4.40 per day for the municipal budget. Included in these costs are long-term issues such as debt management and a capital plan that continues to reduce our reliance on debt for the future. It includes plans that continue to reduce future debt burdens by permanently financing debt at low interest rates when available, foreclosing on old tax title liens on vacant lots so those properties can be sold and put back on the tax rolls, growing our fund balance for future emergent situations, and increasing efficiency while still providing top-notch services to our residents. We are looking towards the future, moving Vernon forward, and appropriating funds accordingly.
Thank you. Very informative. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Motion is on the floor. Does anybody have anything to? Yeah.
I just wanted to comment.
Sure.
I think the mayor, township department heads, the council worked, I think they worked very well together to make this happen. It was a long process, but I think the council did a great job working together along with the mayor. And I think that's something that we should build upon. That's all I have.
Just in.
I don't know, I have something I'd like to share. Back in, I guess it was before November of 2021, Pat and I were trying to solicit votes, and the one overwhelming comment that was made by most of the residents in Vernon was they weren't sure if the town could get a handle on the taxes. And I think that money in 2021, the way everybody spends it changed forever because of COVID and because of the increase in everything that's in the markets right now. But I do want to say that after the hard work that Donnell and her staff and the staff here at the town hall, with the mayor's office and the council, I can honestly say promises made, promises kept, that we're at a 0% increase now in Vernon Township.
Thank you. Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I agree. I think, budget season cannot be fun, but we were able to, I think, really get a lot of good information, communicate, and work together towards a common goal of having a budget that did not, pass on an increase to our community, which is really something to be proud of. And I'm happy that we were able to work together with the administration, as a council, mayor, and all of the departments and their staff. I think it was definitely a positive group effort, and I appreciate that.
Mr. Shirley.
I concur with the previous statements.
The only other thing I can say with adding to my earlier statement, somebody looking at the budget, the original amount, what it cost, and what we're finally settling at, you say it seems to be an awful lot of work for the current. And I really can't agree with that, and I don't think any member of the council would feel that way, nor with the mayor. Because, in fact, it is dollars saved, and more than that, it's an example of what an elected body can do in terms of reducing its appropriations, revisiting the budget, seeing where it can be tight a little bit more, and a little bit more. It's a move that I think sets an example for any other elected body in the community and any other group in the community, that we value the spending of tax dollars, and we spend that money like we would spend our own. And that is probably the wisest thing anybody can do in the service of the public when they do have the ability to tax and spend, is to spend it like they would their own. So the only other question I have is for the mayor would be, I understand, you understand my position on the projects that you started. We should work well on those. But can I ask you to guarantee or assure the community that in the budget, there does not exist any funds that were not paid for or not included in the ordinance for either of these projects?
Money. Right, develop project. I think we both went through that with a fine-tooth comb. We both saw that. Yeah. But
Thank you. May I have a roll call vote, please? No, if you have a problem.
I just hear the speakers crackling.
Sorry, no, I have nothing. No.
Okay. Vice President Bucieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Fury?
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch?
Absolutely, yes.
Councilmember Shortway?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. Yes. Cheat sheet. This is an ordinance, bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of a new fire truck by the Township of Vernon in the County of Sussex for New Jersey, appropriating $655,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $424,047 bonds or notes of the township for financing such appropriation. May I have a motion to have this placed on the floor?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Bucieri.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Lynch. Are there any questions or comments on this appropriation? Is this going to be a red fire truck?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Can I ask,
Some places, you know, they may play games with colors.
is there somebody in the room to tell me what type of fire truck you guys get?
It's a regular engine pumper.
Okay. Do you hear that?
Yep. Okay.
Can you believe these things are costing that much money these days? Oh, no, it's a lot of money.
Any way we can give kids and charge them for rides?
All it takes is an ordinance.
Yes, it does. Since there are no other comments, may I have a roll call vote?
Vice President Bucieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Fury?
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch?
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Gentlemen, thank you for your service. We sleep better at night, we sleep deeply at night, knowing that you guys are on guard.
I think that we should say thank you to EMS for bringing the electronic defibrillator in for this budget meeting.
Yeah, I'll be talking about it during public comments.
Did you really think we were gonna let a increase of that size, that magnitude, require the use of that?
You just never know.
This woman has been used so far once this month.
Oh, wow.
Sadly, everyone's seen it,
No,
but
it's good to have it.
All right.
Thank you.
So
That's it.
that's it, yes, thank you, Peter.
Only not even 8:20.
No, we still got to get through public comments.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch to open the floor for public comments. Is there a second?
Good.
Second
I'm
by
sorry,
Mr.
Mike.
Fury. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The floor is open for comment on any issue. Thank you.
notice I won't prevent too long.
Please give us your name.
Hello, council. First name Kevin, last name Duffy. I'm the chief operations at Level Culture Volunteer Ambulance Corps, Sussex. So one of the things that you guys just heard in the budget as far as public service goes is this device. This device, you wouldn't believe how much a battery and a piece of rubber costs us. Just for one of these, you go up to $15,000.
Oh, wow.
And what it does is it eliminates human compressions, which gives the patient that's in cardiac arrest better results and outcomes. So just want to show you one of these, upwards to 15,000. Very expensive. We love it. It's been used once so far this month. Sadly, we don't want to use it, but just want to show you guys.
Is that a defibrillator?
No, so this works in conjunction with an AED.
Oh, okay.
So as we'll just say that Mr. Nelson member of Glenwood, that's just an example. She's really not.
Can we use it on somebody here?
Unfortunately,
Joe, can you come up here?
Who's gonna lay down? I'm
but
taking.
as an individual that's doing compressions, I can just put this over their chest. I turn the power on, and it
It
starts.
takes over compressions.
Yeah. So this. Okay, I won't do a full demonstration. I can show anybody later. So I put it down. It's going to yell at me because there's nobody here, but I can start doing this. And it's going to go down the American Heart Association recommendations for an adult, which is about 2 inches, or it's actually 2 inches. And it just goes continuous. Or I can press one, which is where you do intermittent compressions and ventilation. So that's what,
Nice.
something so simple.
We've come a long way.
Medicine, anything medicine is
That's it.
really expensive.
Those engineers are smart.
Yeah. So that's just the provider. Now it's time to get 2 rescue breaths, and then they'll start back up.
Wow.
They can't be used on children, right?
No, it could, because children, we also have up to 2 inches for a child. This won't fit on people of a certain size, just because. But it won't fit on infants. There are some restrictions to it, but there's more positives than restrictions, maybe less than a handful of restrictions. One of the goals was, and I want to make sure I don't go over my time limits. One of the goals with the SUV that the township was generous enough to get for us is that one of these will go into the SUV, and that SUV goes to any cardiac arrest calls with an additional one in an ambulance.
So how many of those do we have?
The request was for 2. I have been absent with being a pain with Dale. So I'm hoping that there's still 2. If I didn't miss the deadline, but if I did, then hopefully we're fine. So funny enough, every BLS agency paid has one. We'll be the first volunteer agency in Sussex County to have this specific. So, big progress.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that is-
Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
service.
Council President,
Yes.
if I could just comment a second and thank Kevin for his assistance in us being able to upgrade our AEDs. The one you see in the hallway has already been done, and we have 2 more that are coming. We have 2 in this building there and down in the senior center.
We'll have one in the DPW, and we will also have one over in animal control. But he found us a company that monitors and comes in and checks them once a month to make sure everything's functioning properly.
Thank you very much.
And they take on a liability business as well, which is a great thing.
What is the life of that unit?
Sitting on TV. One battery, so this device does come with 2 batteries. One battery will run up to about 25 to 30 minutes continuous compressions. If for some reason I'm in the woods, God forbid, because there has been cardiac arrest calls up on the Appalachian Trail, this would go up in the UTV. It does have 2 batteries, so I can do roughly about 80 to 90 minutes of continuous compressions. Once it's in the ambulance, I can even plug it in and run off the ambulance power.
Okay.
So it does go for a good distance.
Okay.
The battery is rechargeable,
What is the usable life of the total in terms of years?
up 15 plus years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's as long as batteries we're gonna replace every 7 years, just for repurposes,
All right.
but it's a long time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments, questions from the lead? Yes, Mr. Higgins.
Hi, Bill Higgins from Glenwood section. First time I've spoken at one of these meetings, many times at the Board of Education meetings. So I see there's 3 former Board of Education members here, Howard, Natalie, Pat. So I'm the 4th. And I like to go over there at budget time. That's why I'm here to listen to this budget. And you're the only one of the 3 sources that raised taxes, that didn't raise taxes if the budget goes through. The school board raised it 2%, the county raised it 2%, and you're staying flat. So that's beautiful, a very nice thing. There's just a couple other things. I really came here for a little more professional presentation. I wanted more details. And so if I can ask some questions about what you put up there, you added a 11% pension increase in one line item. Now, how can pensions go up to 11% in 1 year, and what else is included in that number?
So pension, there's the public employees retirement system for regular pension, and there's the police and fire retirement for police officers. Combined, they increased 11%. That's state mandated. This year, the state, I think, used a 15.7% ratio, and that's based on their calculations from 2020 salaries.
So the pension cost went up that much because the state said it has to go up that much? So that means those people are getting pensions, their pension amount going in their pension fund is increasing by 15%?
No, so basically what the state, it's an actuarial calculation. The state looks at the salaries annually, even though it's from really 2 years ago, like I said, 2020's numbers. So they'll look at 2020's total salaries for Vernon, and they're going to say, okay, based on when we think people are going to retire, how much their retirements are going to be, this is what we think you should be putting in to ensure that that is funded.
Right.
So they said about, I think it was 15.7%.
If it comes out to less, let's say it comes out to 7% in reality, you're saying that won't happen? Okay. Because on the school board, they budget every year between 800,000 and $1.1 million for healthcare benefit increase. And over the last 7 years, it's averaged 2%. And so that means that they're banking $900,000 extra taxpayer money just because.
Yeah, so we can't do that. I base our pension liability is based on the actual bill from the state. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not, I don't budget like 1.5 million and the PFRS is 1.1.
Right.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Right. Second question, it appears that you have a surplus of about $6 million. What's that in terms of historic numbers? Is it high, low? Did it go up because of COVID? And if it did, what's going to happen with that money?
So surplus is really important. Some people like to call it our rainy day fund. It's important that we have cash flow in order to make our payments to the school and the county who require 100% payment despite collections, right? So our collections last year were 96.4%. That was actually increased from the year prior, so that's good. But we need to have a fund balance, a healthy fund balance in order to ensure those things. It's also important for situations like we had in 2020 with COVID, when people were out of work and we didn't know what was going to happen. So the mayor and the council at the time decided to not increase taxes again. and used $1 million from fund balance at that point. If you didn't have a healthy fund balance, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Right. Is your fund balance now compared to pre-COVID high, low, or the same?
It is higher than pre-COVID.
How much higher?
I would have to I'd have to pull that number
Yeah.
for 20.
Because I know the state, the county, and the Board of Education are running probably 3 times the amount in reserve than they did pre-COVID.
Okay.
And they're holding that money and still raising taxes. You're holding the money, but you're not raising taxes. So that part's good. The other thing I have, grants. Are grants that you've received included in the budgeted money? And how much did you receive in grants?
Not much.
Not much?
No.
One of the concerns that we have is the grants, and that, one of the things that the items that I think we're gonna be looking at is how we can increase our grant applications.
Yeah.
Okay, because the reason I asked the same questions to the Board of Ed, and at their presentation last week, they agreed to make it known. So after saying nothing, they then presented the numbers, 6.1 million in grants they received.
Oh, yeah, they got a ton.
And that to me means, taxes should go down because grant money's coming up and the state is dishing out a lot of money because they're flush with money as well. And if you have grant money, that's a great way to do it if you can apply for the grants. And there's people that can help do that.
I hope that they can apply for grants for windows.
They had already $4.5 million in capital reserve that they wouldn't get back to, and they're spending 2.1 of it on the windows, and they're still gonna have $2 million left over.
Good.
Yeah, they'll have plenty of money.
Thank you very much, Mr.
I'm sorry, we're out of time now.
Out of time?
Yeah, it was 5 minutes, sorry.
Okay, just one last thing. You just passed a resolution on the cap, bank cap. In clear English, does that mean that if in fact you need money in the future, that you can just take back that 2% that you just gave us, or the amount that you could have rose taxes now?
It's essentially the same thing that the Board of Education. They
Right.
establish a bank cap, and it moves from year to year, perhaps the now.
It's a cap bank just for appropriations. It has nothing to do with taxes.
Well, if in
And they
other
can't
words,
take it back. And
this
if your
year,
question was, can they take it back? No, they can't.
this year, if there's no tax increase, which is the way it looks like it's going through, and a year or 2 years from now, you need money, you can take back that money from the taxpayer by increasing it.
No, so the appropriations cap has nothing to do with the tax cap.
Okay,
There's
there's
a
an
tax cap.
appropriation cap?
Yeah, this is an appropriation cap. The tax cap is law as well, but it's on its own.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now everybody can yell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, Steve Dunlap. I just want to follow up on something Bill said on your 2207. If I'm reading this correctly, does it mean that you can spend 179,763 more than is budgeted without coming back to the council for approval? On the cap, it says that you can spend 1% more than the budget. It talks about a 2.5% unless authorized to go to 3.5%. But it says whereas the governing body determines that a 1% increase in the budget amounting to 179,763 in excess of the increase shall be permitted. So the question is if the town decides that they need to spend more money than the approved budget, can they apply this and do it, or do they have to come back to the council for approval?
They have to come back to.
Correct?
It's an appropriations cap. So the budget is what it is.
Right.
The cap is established as part of the budget process. There's no mechanism to come back and say, okay, we want to spend above that cap. The only mechanism that you could spend above what's in the budget is to come before council, and council would have to approve an emergency appropriation.
Perfect, that answers the question. Bill Higgins, Brad Sparta, and I went to the Board of Ed last year when they were trying to raise our taxes. We explained to them they had $11 million in the bank. They had $4.5 million in their CapEx fund, which they didn't spend. They had a buildings and ground committee. For 3 years, they talked about things that needed to be done and didn't. Now this year, they finally approved them last week or earlier this week. We explained to them it would have been a lot cheaper to do it 2 years ago than to do it now, obviously with the way the cost of everything have gone up. I got over $6 million in grants, but still raised us another 10%, or excuse me, another 2%. And they've got about $9 million sitting in the bank. I know we have a liaison. It's not an envious job. Bill and I have tried. Bill, Brad, and I have tried. They approved the budget 8-0 after we showed them clearly why they didn't need to increase it, but they did. So if you can have any influence on them and maybe challenge them to do what you guys have done, it would be appreciated. And last but not least, my son is a special needs student, so it's something that's dear to my heart. But there is a Subway chain. Help me with the name, Harry. You know what I'm talking about, I think.
Jersey Mike's.
Jersey Mike.
Jersey Mike's. Thank you so much. I was focused on this. Jersey Mike's on Wednesday is going to donate 100% of the money they take in for Special Olympics. The nearest one to us is Sparta, but I know there's one in Wayne and one in Pompton Plains. So anybody that happens to be that way that would like to buy a sandwich to help Special Olympics, I think it'd be a great thing. And it's very heartwarming to see someone like Jersey Mike's willing to donate, not just a percentage of, but everything they take in for that day is going to go to them. So thank you very much.
Thank you for letting us know. No problem.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else? Before? Do we have anyone from
Yes, I have Peg Stasi.
Mr. Stassi? Mr. Stassi?
Hello.
Yes.
Sorry that I wasn't able to connect before. I do want to congratulate the council and the mayor for a zero budget. I do agree with the council president that you need to think of this money as spending in your own budget, and you need to figure out creative ways to make it work. As has been discussed limitedly, that there is a Greg Wright on the board again. This is the third time that I'm bringing this up to the council, and has done a great job. They are willing to share her services with the township. Our current administration has been very lax in looking for grant money, and we need to do that. So I am again asking that the council and the mayor's office pursue a link to this Board of Ed to see if we cannot share the grant writing services that are again eligible. We need this money drastically. And again, I want to thank everybody on the council and the mayor's office and the department heads for coming up with a zero budget. And I wish the Board of Ed would have done so as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stassi. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, I have Tom McClaffery.
Mr. McClaffery. Did I get it right that time?
Down here, I'm just trying, sorry. Okay, so, I know, investigation that general administration is 58 cents and, the TPW is 44 cents. I just wanted to highlight that because, service that most of the residents of this township use is the DPW. I mean, we're not going anywhere in a snowstorm if those guys ain't out there plowing and the storm. And if we're not going anywhere, then how the heck are you gonna pay our taxes? You guys don't fix the roads? How are we gonna pay our taxes? I mean, I live on a road that has more potholes than a new.
How do you know?
Average lifespan is 25 years. This road hasn't been paved in 40. I'm kind of wondering, maybe if I make this a jigsaw, if we get to have more patches than we have roads. I agree with you on that, but seriously, we ought to be spending more money on DPW and less money on general administration. General administration is not doing anything for the regular township taxpayer. And I think, answer to my question, which was since the valuations of the houses, the new property assessment of 2022, residential properties increased 1% versus the decrease of 1% in the commercial industrial sector. And yet, I'm looking at that, I saw that presentation and the allegation made that no, there's not going to be any increase. I would like to go to that school again. I like that. Because I still be paying my 1985 tax. I'm not, my taxes have gone up 700%. I don't see anything for it. And I'm just, won't take up too much more of your time. I think you're getting the gist of what I'm pointing at, and that's about it. Have a good night.
Thank you. Is there anyone?
I have Jesse Palladini.
Ms. Palladini?
Hi, how are you again? You know, this business of a grant writer, I've been hearing this town talk about hiring a grant writer for 2 decades. Really? Come on, just do it. Now, speaking of grants, the Vernon Historical Society has applied for and gotten numerous grants. Every one we ever applied for, we got. And I think you know by now that we got almost $400,000 in state funding for a management plan, a corridor management plan, and also a marketing plan. And we are continuing to do the marketing plan right now, even as we speak. And there's a good amount of money still in the fund for that. And I understand the town is looking to pay to do marketing. I don't know why. We could do it for you for free with state money, and we are doing it. And I'd be happy to meet with anybody who wants to know about it, and I can tell you about it. So that's all I want to say. Oh no, that's not all I want to say. Right now, there is funding available from the federal government because we are now a national scenic byway. The deadline is April 30th, a little tight, but we could do it. And I invite you to let us know if there's any kind of improvement you would like to see for the town that we could apply for you. We can apply for funding for trails. We can apply for funding for parks and all kinds of things like that. And you do it, not all of you, Mike Fury do it, but they never took us up on it. But instead use taxpayer money to pay for some of those things. So the last thing I want to say is, I believe council needs to start answering, responding to public comments instead of listening week after week after week and saying nothing. I want to know what's going on with a social media policy for municipal employees and town volunteers. Now, Mayor Burrell trumped up completely phony charges without ever once, not once, bringing a single incident to light, upon which he abolished an entire historic preservation commission. And yet, I have documentation of dozens and dozens and dozens of harassing and bullying email messages, Facebook posts from some of your volunteers. Today, this very day, one of your employees on work time, using a work computer, once again posted garbage on social media about township business. How do I know she did it on township time? Because I called the recreation department and spoke with her supervisor and found out that yes, in fact, she was there in the office 26 minutes ago, posting yet again things about Oprah. And the fact that I asked by Oprah for a copy of her application for employment, which is absolutely an Oprahable document. And I don't for the life of me know how you have an employee, but you do not have an employment application for that employee. Now, we had the business administrator and the former mayor or councilman, whatever he was at the time, go to a police department to file an internal affairs complaint and investigation about a resident of Vernon who was a police officer.
Excuse me, can you, it's 25 seconds, Mrs. Belladine?
I'm done in 10.
Okay.
And yet, we won't do anything about employees who improperly use township equipment on township time. We need to do something about that. Please adopt the social media policy. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Al Lasco.
I'm sorry,
Al Lasco.
Mr. Lasko?
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I first want to say kudos to the council and the mayor for coming together on the zero budget, which is fantastic, I feel. It's great to see everybody working together. And I would like to see you guys talk about the safety ordinance that came up a bit ago. And it's just very important with I know the weather's not getting much better, but it will get better eventually. And the kids will be out there playing in our neighborhoods, and just want to make sure that we keep them safe, and especially all the residents of Vernon. I'm sure we agree that safety is very important. So I just want to keep it brief. I want to thank you again for working together. It's great to see that. And thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have Francine Vince.
Ms. Vince?
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Francine Vince. I'm Harborside Drive in Vernon. Last month, I brought up the safety ordinance as well, and I asked it as a question. What do you plan to do about this? And not one of you answered it. While I listened to you respond to, as you have tonight, respond to over and over again different residents' questions. And so tonight I'm asking again directly, I'd like to know what is the status of this? Will this move forward? Is this something that we can expect the council will take a look at? Will you meet with concerned residents and hear folks who have opinions on it? One way or another, bring us together, we'll bring more than one to talk about it. So we're asking you again tonight, will you please respond? Let us know where you stand on this particular issue and whether or not we can expect to see this council moving forward on addressing the needs of safety in our neighborhoods. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't see any other hands up. Oh, I do. I'm sorry. Ann Larson.
Ms. Larson?
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say also thank you for the zero increase. We really do appreciate that. It is very much needed by this township. So thank you for all the efforts that we have. I have one suggestion, perhaps, maybe in going along with the theme of not spending, maybe we could pull any municipal credit cards, or if there were any cards, township cards that other employees have. Maybe the discretionary spending would go back even further were they to have to go for an expense authorization versus just using a piece of plastic. You know, how easily people get in trouble with credit cards, and I'm sure, workers with access are a little more free with the money than they are if they have to go through certain channels to get it. That said, I have one other comment, or question, I should say. Do we know, or do we have an ETA on when the refund to those improperly assessed fines for the property maintenance agreement? Do we have an idea when those checks will be going out to the homeowners who were impacted by those?
Can you please repeat that?
Yeah, the property maintenance ordinance that was found to be illegal and so forth. I thought we were going to be funding the money to the people who were impacted by that locally.
I have no information on that in terms of checks that have to be returned.
Yeah, people were fined, and apparently the fines are improper.
No, there's been no adjudication with respect to Vernon's ordinance.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate the answer. Thank you so much.
I have no other hand.
No other hand? Okay. They have a motion to,
I'll make that motion to close public session.
motion is made. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Shortway. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Before we leave, council comments. Mr. Shortway?
No comment.
No comment. Mr. Fury?
No comment.
No comment. Mrs. Buchanan?
No comment.
Mr. Lynch?
I'd like to say that we, Pat and I, the council president and I met with the road department and the business administrator this week, and we went over the plan that the road department has in paving and doing oil and stoning. It's a very active season this year is going to be for the road department when it comes to, and I'd like to thank the council president and the business administrator and the mayor for inviting me to the meeting. And I also want to thank the mayor and the entire municipal staff for bringing together this budget. I know I said it before and I'll say it again. We do good work here, and when we put our head together, we get it done. As far as one more item I have is somebody got up last meeting and said that we should have some type of setup to provide donations for the people of Ukraine. I am going to be in a meeting this week down in Hudson County with one of the mayors of the town, and he has tractor trailers coming in and out of Secaucus with stuff that's loaded for Ukraine. And I want to find out if one of those trucks could come up here and we could just, stuff the trailer with supplies for these poor people. Other than that, I have nothing.
Thank you. I'll keep my comments to a minimum, but one of the things I do want to address is that the time spent with our engineer and Mr. Babcock, who's the director of our DPW, and Mr. Lynch and I, was very, very informative. People say they would like to have their roads paved versus using oil and stone, so that people can understand the cost of paving a road is 5 times the cost of oil and stone. And when I saw that number, it's absolutely amazing, considering the amount of roads that the township has. I believe we're probably looking at, in the area, of about 100 miles of roads, correct? Over 100 miles of roads, and they're broken down into primary roads, secondary and tertiary roads. And how do we decide, how does the DPW decide to go through the selective process of deciding which roads need to be paved? Or, and I use that term paved as a generic term, probably should be either oil and stone or paved. And it really depends upon the amount of money in the areas and when it was last done and how much money is available. We do have, the township does have a schedule that it has put together so that over a period of time, every road will be either paved or oil and stone. And how do they determine whether it's going to be paved or oil and stone? I would suppose it would depend upon the degree of, traffic pressure on individual roads based, on use. So I would think that would be the primary consideration. Other than that, I would say winter is trying to remain, but sooner or later, we're going to have spring. So please be careful. Kids are going to be out in the roads, and I would ask that you please keep an eye out for it. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion is made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Short. All in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye, aye.
Aye.
Carries.
All right.
Thank you.
Tomorrow.
Right, we're out for